Okay, welcome back, traders, to part 2 of the Astro trading. Now, if you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend you go back to that so you understand what's going on in this video. But if you're a rebel, then just stick around until the end. But we're going to jump right into it. So from part 1, we covered the technical analysis, looking at the charts and how these moon phases can or cannot affect these markets in different ways. Now, in part 2, we're going to be talking about the psychology of it and why these reversals and these trends and these patterns may happen on these full and new moons. So we're going to jump right into it. Now, just remember that the market is dictated by the participation or activity of traders around the world, whether it's only a few or it's millions or it's big players or small players. The market moves because of how many people are buying versus selling. So if the market is going down, obviously there's more sellers. But remember, during these reversal patterns, what we're trying to figure out is, does the full moon or the new moon affect anything around that? So I just have a couple things pulled up that I found really interesting. If you watch the end of part 1, this is kind of piggybacking off of that. But if you don't know who JP Morgan is, he's basically the creator of the mega bank Chase and JP Morgan. And if you also don't know, the top 10 traders in the world are all banks. So central banks are the people who are controlling these markets. And they definitely understand human psychology and, sociology because I'll show you in a little bit. But again, JP Morgan was once quoted saying that millionaires don't need astrology, but billionaires do. A little worded a little different here, but basically he's saying billionaires, the people at the top, the elites, the people who understand human psychology, those are the people who are using astrology in business and finances in these financial markets. And millionaires are people who are just kind of, making their money and not really looking at that stuff. But it's pretty crazy. I'm on Forbes here. I would say this is a pretty reputable site. They've been around for a long time. I think everyone knows who they are. But this article basically talks a lot about how all of these cycles and these moons affect the markets and how all these researchers have done their research and have found the same exact thing. And so it's pretty crazy to see all that stuff. But there were just a couple of things that I saw in here that I thought were really cool. And let me see if I can find it. Okay, so this is definitely one of them. I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to read the parts that I think are important. But if you do need this site, I'll link it in the description down below. So that way I could get it to you guys and you can do your own research. But basically he's saying, this Robert Gover guy, the author of Time and Money, he's basically saying, if we go back deep into history to see where the planets were in the sky at the time of certain events, years ago you had to use star charts and calculate this, but now we have computers and that the computers can do it for us. But what you see over time is that there's a lot of movement in the solar system, and at the same time there's a lot of movement that affect individual lives as well as nations. And if we refer back to the markets being controlled by people and their activity in the markets, it's no coincidence that when there's a full moon, there's activity. You've probably always heard, oh, this person's going crazy because of the full moon, or, those fairy tales of the wolf howling on the full moon because its emotions start to get stirred up and things start to happen. It's the same thing. When people's emotions start to go a little haywire for any reason, whether it's astrology or drugs or a breakup, people start to make a little more irrational or impulsive decisions. And what better way than to do it in the Forex market, right? If you're starting to feel a little more risky for whatever reason and there's a full moon out and you're really feeling like you should buy or sell this, it can really make people become impulsive in these markets. And we've seen it time and time again. If you research even the S&P 500, even Euro USD, gold, anything, these markets correlate so well with astrology and what's going up there. And it's not just the moon, but the planets and what cycle we're in, what month of the year, whether it's summer or winter. All this stuff that we don't even think about is not controlling, but influencing how not only the market works, but the people. This astrology, the solar system, everything like that, nature is influencing how people are living their lives, and in effect, how they're looking at the markets and taking action on that. So this is definitely one thing. There's so much more, but I don't want to waste your guys' time with all this. This is definitely a super informative article. I will link in the description down below. But another one that I found really interesting was there's a study done in 2014 led by, I don't even know how to say that, but it's in Queen's University of Canada. But they looked at a psychiatric emergency department. They looked at the visits around the night of a full moon. They looked at the 6-hour, the 12-hour, and the 24-hour effect before and after the full moon. And as they can see, during the 12 hours before and after a full moon, emergency departments saw significantly, significantly more patients with more personality disorders, as well as more urgent triad scores, which I don't really know what that means, but basically people who needed urgent care. And then obviously fewer patients with anxiety disorder. So if the theory is correct that the moon does affect your emotions in some way, I mean, obviously it's not going to make you go haywire and kill a lot of people or completely change who you are as a human being. But if the moon can just influence you a little bit in just the slightest of ways, change your thoughts up a little bit, why can't it make you do the same thing on the charts, right? If you're looking at the charts and there's a full moon out, what are the odds that you may be feeling a little bit more risky? Maybe you feel a little bit better about selling. All these things can come into consideration that we never think about. And again, as in part one, I'm not saying just trade new and full moons, because there are times when nothing happens, like consolidation, or it's over the weekend. But then again, there are times when market reversals happen, and we can see it over and over and over and over again. And this just happens time and time again. So when I was marking up these charts, I started to get less impressed by this because I started to see it so much. I started to see these trends and this activity in the markets so frequently. And it's not just on this, it's also on gold, it's also on AUD USD, it's on every pair, because remember, the foreign exchange markets are dictated by the activity of the traders. Well, whether it's big banks, retail traders, hedge funds, whoever, people are people, and these people, everybody's affected by these lunar phases. Theory or truth, I don't know. But the charts are looking pretty well. There hasn't been much study done on them, but we can always take a look for ourselves and see what we can find. So I wanted to keep this one a little bit more short. If you guys enjoyed this 2-part series of Astro trading and found it helpful, definitely let me know in the comments down below. If you want me to research any other cool trading topics or trading ideas, I would love to do so, because I think these markets are so interesting in how they work, and you really get to see people and sociology play out in these markets when you take a look at the bigger picture. So again, if you're not subscribed, you're definitely missing out, so make sure you subscribe down below. Hit that like button and make sure you leave a comment for what you like or you didn't like, or give me your thoughts. But I'll see you guys on the next one, and thank you for watching this far.